The High Court in Johannesburg has granted the National Director of Public Prosecutions leave to appeal the Regiments Capital restraint order case. Earlier this year, the National Directorate of Public Prosecutions lost a bid to get a final restraint order against Regiments Capital property worth over 1 billion rand. The NDPP got an interim order to freeze the assets last year as it believed they were proceeds of crime. To give us more on this, we're joined on the line by Investigating Directorate spokesperson Sindisiwe Twala. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Of course, Regiments has been implicated at the State Capture Commission in irregular deals with billions of rands. Let's just start perhaps with a bit of context in terms of how it is that we got to this particular point.
Thank you so much for having me for starters. The Investigating Directorate, which is a deponent in this particular case, brought the application that Regiments assets be restrained. This was last year, and we were given a provisional restraint in November. This year, when we had applied for a final restraint order, things did not go our way, and thus the assets were then given back to Regiments Capital as well as their directors. For starters, the Investigating Directorate's office or mandate is to investigate high, complex corruption cases, more so that emanate from state capture. So what we have found in this particular case is that the 0.1 billion has been resuscitated and then given back to Regiments Capital as well as the various directors. But this particular application then prompted us to appeal it because it would mean that if these assets are given back to the various directors of Regiments and their directors, it then opens up a leeway where these assets could actually leave the country. So what we're doing right now, another reason why we appealed it and successfully got a leave or was given leave to appeal this particular thing, is because we believe that it now opens the NPA and the judiciary to having to provide more papers than we actually did to prove the material facts. We, in this application, had to provide 1,400 papers, but still, when the judgment was found, it found against us.
I'd like us to perhaps expand more on the decision of the High Court granting you the leave to appeal and what it essentially means. You highlighted a little bit just a few seconds ago.
Sorry, I missed that.
If we could please just expand on the decision by the High Court to grant the NDPP leave to appeal in terms of what it means for you. You just highlighted it a little bit earlier on in your answer a few seconds ago.
Okay, so this basically means that we can now bring our application yet again to a full bench of the same court to plead our case as to why we believe that the assets need to continue to be restrained. Because as it currently stands, the assets have been given back to the respective persons, regiments, as well as the directors. So this application gives us a second chance to prove our case, to show why the assets need to be held where they were initially. This also gives us an opportunity in the back to continue formulating the criminal case that we have said initially that we will bring against Regiments Capital and the various people who we believe were instrumental in looting state-owned entity Transnet. Another reason why we are so making sure that the assets continue to be restrained is because we believe that the assets as well as some of the assets are proceeds of crime. The 1064 locomotive deal that was brought about at the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, where various persons, Francis Collard and various persons, spoke about the significance and how money was ballooned in the billions that was not supposed to happen. We're saying we are working on the step-by-step, first restraining the assets, then bringing in a criminal case, and then from there, bit by bit, we're able to reclaim the state from whatever form of irregularities and corruption that took place.
Given that the assets were unfrozen, do you believe that you will actually retrieve anything here?
That's something that I've actually been asked for most part of today about what if by the time that the appeal is concluded, and let's say for argument's sake it's successful, we run the risk of the assets already being taken out of the country or dissipated. But what it'll actually do, which actually helps us according to POCA, it allows us to then follow the trail. So if the assets are dissipated, given to other people as gifts, we then are able to follow the trail and get them back according to various legislation. So the nice thing that we're actually satisfied about is that if that does happen, we will be able to retrieve them back if we are successful in a court of law.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for. That was Investigating Directorate spokesperson Sindisiwe Twala.